One of my favorite dishes is tteokbokki. Tteokbokki is a spicy rice cake street food from Korea that's absolutely delicious. The rice cake is nice and chewy, all covered in a spicy and sweet sauce. The one I have is from Korea. My dad recently went there and brought back this red seasoning pack. It says it's on a level of 5 on a scale of 7, so I guess it's going to be pretty spicy. Usually tteokbokki includes fish cakes, green onions, and a hard-boiled egg. I don't like hard-boiled yolks because they turn chalky, so I discard them. Some people like to disintegrate the yolks into the sauce to make it richer, but that's not for me. Overall, tteokbokki is a fantastic dish that I can't get enough of. The combination of chewy rice cakes and the flavorful spicy sauce is just unbeatable. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend giving it a go. Today I'll show you how to make gimmari, crispy seaweed noodle rolls, a staple at Korean street food vendors who sell tteokbokki. They're crispy and delicious, so let's dive in. Start by soaking your glass noodles in a simmering broth of soy sauce and water. While those soak, dice up some carrots. Cook the carrots on a strainer in the same broth. Once everything's fully cooked, drain and place it in a pot with some green onions. Chop this filling up finely. Next up, take slices of seaweed and wrap them around the noodle and carrot mix. Cut these into your desired size, coat them in flour, and then set them aside. Now let's prepare the batter. Mix Korean frying batter with water until it's smooth. Dip your rolls into the batter, ensuring they're well coated, and then it's time to fry them. Fry until the exterior is golden brown. Remember, everything inside is already cooked, so we're just aiming for that perfect crispiness. And there you have it, your own homemade gimmari. These instant udon noodles are seriously impressive. You might have seen them in Costco, but they're also available in pretty much every Asian grocery store. The variety and quality of toppings are great, including scallions, fish cakes, and fried tofu, all swimming in an excellent soy sauce broth. However, there's a slight catch. The noodles come vacuum packed in oil, which has a noticeable smell. This is probably for preservation since these noodles are fresh, not dried or pre-fried. The freshness really elevates this instant noodle, making it close to, the thing you get at a restaurant. But to get rid of that preserved smell, I recommend washing the udon noodles separately first. Just boil them in some water, drain that water, and then use fresh boiling water to make your broth. This little trick helps maintain the authentic taste of udon without the off-putting odor. Overall, despite this extra step, these noodles are definitely worth a try. This dish is my go-to for Friday night. Don't get me wrong, wings and pizza are great, but for me, there's nothing like tteokbokki with some fried side dishes. I usually fry up a mix of onion rings, dumplings, and these delicious seaweed wraps. I fry them in light oil with a coating of Korean frying mix, which is a blend of cornstarch, rice flour, and regular flour. The result is a batch of lightly battered, crispy side dishes that are absolutely delicious. For the main course, I love a spicy tteokbokki with a lot of broth. While some people prefer tteokbokki with a thick, sticky sauce, on a Friday night, I'm all about a hot, flavorful broth that I can sip on. The base of the broth is fish stock, which is flavored with a tteokbokki marinade that you can find at most Asian grocery stores. I add in some green onions, a variety of fish cakes, hard-boiled eggs, and of course, chewy rice cakes. This dish is pure comfort food for me. It's what I ate growing up, and to this day, I would happily choose it over wings and pizza. In this quick video, I'm going to show you how to make one of the most popular soups in Korea, 된장찌개. 된장찌개 is a hearty, fermented soybean soup that has a bit of heat, plenty of veggies, and sometimes even seafood. Now I know, fermented soybean might sound a little intimidating, but think of it as a super flavorful stock cube made from beans instead of chicken. Making the soup is pretty straightforward because it's all about tasting and adjusting as you go. Start by adding doenjang, which is fermented bean paste you can find at most Asian grocery stores. I like to add also a little miso, which is the Japanese version of it, along with gochujang for sweetness and heat. Once your base is ready, chop up some mushrooms, serrano peppers, and green onions. You can also throw some protein in. Beef brisket works great, or you could also throw in seafood like mussels if you prefer. The key is to keep tasting and adjusting the seasoning as you go. I'm using fish stock to add depth, but you could also use water if you want a lighter broth. And that's pretty much it. While I was at Costco, I noticed their usual frozen meatballs were out of stock, so I decided to try these jumbo beef meatballs instead. They come in a plastic package and you can either boil them or microwave them. But of course, if I'm gonna have meatballs, I need spaghetti to go with them. So I started by slicing up some unusually large mushrooms, then opened a package of cherry tomatoes and halved them, and finally I roughly chopped up half an onion. To cook, I first dried roasted the mushrooms in a pan to get a nice sear, then added the tomatoes and onions. I tossed in some parsley and minced garlic to bring all the flavors together and made sure everything was well mixed. The next step was adding the sauce, which turned out to be the hardest part. The sauce didn't want to come out of the plastic bag easily and it was hot, so definitely wear some gloves for this part. Once I finally got the sauce in, I added the cooked pasta and gave everything a good stir. As for the meatballs themselves, they were a bit of a letdown. They're pretty underseasoned and honestly the only impressive thing was about their size. I think this is probably the 10th plus time I'm filming a variation of ramen, meat, and a fried egg, but honestly this combo is just too good to pass up. It's one of those meals that I can eat over and over without getting tired of it. That mix of, spicy noodles, savory meat, and a runny egg just hits the spot every time. Yesterday I had some leftover Korean barbecue from dinner, and rather than just letting it sit in the fridge, I figured I would use it to make a quick meal. I boiled some spicy ramen and decided to fry up an egg. I used the same pan to reheat the leftover meat, which saved time and gave everything that extra bit of flavor. In just a few minutes, I had a bowl of spicy noodles with a perfectly fried egg in the center, surrounded by the reheated meat. The egg was crispy on the edges with a soft and runny yolk, and the meat paired perfectly with the spice of the noodles. The only downside was that I just had a little too meat for the amount of noodles, but overall it was still a delicious meal and I'll definitely make it again. Have you guys ever tried burnt spaghetti before? I think it's called assassin spaghetti in English. Essentially, it's a dish where the spaghetti gets all crunchy and charred, then you serve it with some tomato sauce, and it's surprisingly good. There's a traditional way of making it, but I found a quick and easy method that works well. What I do is cook the spaghetti until it's about 2 minutes away from being done. Then I add leftover tomato sauce and continue cooking the pasta in the sauce until almost all of the moisture evaporates. At that point, you get this super reduced sauce that sticks to the pasta, and the spaghetti itself will start to become crispy and slightly charred. The texture is amazing. It's like having a crunchy pasta coated in a rich concentrated tomato sauce. I've been meaning to try the traditional method one day, which involves cooking the pasta entirely in the sauce, but I haven't had the time yet. It's definitely a goal of mine for the future. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Look at this mountain of kimbap. These are actually called kid kimbap or goma kimbap, which are super simple, just ham, pickled radish, and egg without any veggies like carrots or lotus root. They're pretty basic, but sometimes simple is the best. In my opinion, the best dish to pair with kimbap is fast food like ramen or tteokbokki. I don't know exactly why they go so well together, but I think a lot of it comes down to nostalgia. In Korea, there are chain restaurants called Kimbap Nara or World of Kimbap, which are essentially fast food spots that sell all kinds of Korean dishes from soups to bulgogi. But as a kid, my go-to order was always a kimbap with either ramen or tteokbokki. And I didn't just eat them separately, I would dip the kimbap into the ramen broth or the spicy tteokbokki sauce, and it was literally the perfect combination. Even now, it's one of those comfort meals that just brings back childhood memories.